Hello there and welcome to Escobar's World. In today's video, we'll be taking an in-depth look into a criminal organization that's something of an enigma in the world of organized crime, the Sinaloa Cartel. If you've ever wondered how the outfit came to be and how it operates today, then you're at just the right place. So, let's get right into it, shall we? The Sinaloa Cartel is one of the most infamous organized crime outfits to ever exist and has been led by one of the most recognizable criminals of all time, El Chapo. The cartel was started as a spin-off of the Guadalajara Cartel, which was one of Mexico's largest crime organizations in the early 1980s. The Guadalajara Cartel, headed by Miguel Angel Felix Gallardo, was extremely powerful and had a lot of influence, but that influence didn't seem to be big enough to save it, when in 1985 it was involved in the torture and murder of a US drug enforcement agent. As you'd expect, there were dire consequences for this, and US and American forces cracked down hard on the syndicate. By the end of the decade, it had broken into various groups, one of which was based in Sinaloa, and so the Sinaloa Cartel was birthed. The cartel, originally headed by the duo of Hector Luis Palma Salazar and Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, who were top officers in Guadalajara, started operations. With the marijuana and poppy plants they cultivated, they developed a range of products to sell and very soon gained popularity. One reason for this is the drop in popularity of Colombian drugs going into the US due to joint international clampdown on Colombian cartels and the deaths of significant figureheads like Pablo Escobar. Another reason was the relatively closer proximity to the US than most other cartels. In time, they became so notorious and spread their operation that has become one of the very top organized crime syndicates, rivaling even the notorious Medellin cartel at its prime. In fact, the US considers the Sinaloa Cartel to be the most powerful drug trafficking organization in the Western Hemisphere, and that's no mean feat. Various attempts have been made to clamp down on the cartel by a variety of law enforcement, but somehow it has managed to survive this long and still operates to date. The cartel's main supply is marijuana and cocaine, and this has remained mostly unchanged through the years. As you're probably wondering, 4 decades is a pretty impressive timeline for a cartel to remain dominant. So how did Guzman and Salazar manage to escape law enforcement and keep operations running for so long? Well, one way was through the use of tunnels. Tunnels are quite hard to observe and monitor. The Vietnamese can back us up on this, and it makes it extremely hard to figure out the routes the cartel takes. The use of satellite imaging and drones, which have become increasingly popular in recent times, simply don't work when the subjects of your monitoring are moving underground, and that's a massive setback. It means that to take down the cartel, law enforcement would have to take more hands-on approaches, which is not only more time-consuming but way more dangerous as well. Another reason the Sinaloa Cartel has managed to stay off of law enforcement's radar? Bribes. Lots of them. Drug smuggling is a very productive business, and cartels make so much bank, they're excesses of excesses, so throwing a ton of money to government officials and law enforcement to avoid trouble is something they can afford. The Sinaloa Cartel is particularly infamous for bribing extensively. The Sinaloa Cartel has benefited from the breakdown of other cartels, and a big part of its spread has been as a result of consolidating on lapses of other cartels, usually as a result of arrests of drug lords, and the more the Sinaloa Cartel replaced their competition, the harder it was to uproot them from those places. By the turn of the century, they were the single most powerful syndicate in the entire area, with a presence in over 45 countries. Now let's talk about the major man behind the success of the cartel a little more extensively. Joaquin Guzman, or as he's popularly known, El Chapo. El Chapo, which literally translates to Shorty in Spanish, owing to his diminutive height, was born right in Sinaloa to a farming family. Money was quite tight in the Guzman family, and his father decided that to make some more money on the side, he would plant and supply marijuana to drug dealers in the area. El Chapo was first brought into the drug trafficking trade this way and eventually joined the Guadalajara Cartel. He rose through the ranks pretty quickly and soon was heading the Sinaloa faction of the organization and would go on to head it as a breakaway organization. At the height of his influence, Sinaloa was raking in so much money that Forbes would go out to rank Guzman as one of the most powerful people in the world between 2009 and 2013. In 1993, El Chapo was arrested in Guatemala and extradited by the Mexican government, where he would go on to spend 18 out of his 20-year sentence in federal prison for the crimes of drug trafficking and murder. In 2003, however, he escaped, fearing extradition to the US, where he would have no doubt have had a hard time running his syndicate, which he still managed to do throughout his time in Mexican prison. Again, remember that bribes were a big part of El Chapo and Sinaloa's modus operandi. He continued to head the cartel till he was again arrested by Mexican authorities in 2014. Again, he slipped from prison. Luck would run out on him in January of 2016, though, when he was finally arrested following a shootout and extradited by the US, where he was sentenced to life imprisonment, where he remains till today. So how has the Sinaloa managed to cope without El Chapo, and how does it still operate today? Well, leadership-wise, different reports claim that the cartel is run by either Ismael El Mayo Zambada Garcia, one of the cartel's original members, Rafael Caro Quintero, one of the co-founders of the Guadalajara cartel, El Chapo's brother, Aureliano El Guano Guzman Luera, and/or El Chapo's 4 sons, known collectively as Los Chapitos. The general view is that it is run by a joint force of El Mayo and the Los Chapitos. The group mostly operates cautiously and calculatedly, one of the reasons behind its longevity. While violence is not a go-to for the organization, they impose a presence through fear and intimidation, with pockets of violence here and there between anyone who stands in their way, either the government or competing cartels. Their style of operations is very reminiscent of the Japanese Yakuza, and they're quite predictable. The general rule is that if you don't mess with the Sinaloa cartel, they won't mess with you. The group taxes businesses regularly, usually once monthly, and so long as the businesses pay their dues, things are good. Things get a little tense when rival groups try to overtake the area, but mostly the cartel is very predictable. But there is still the fear that the group can turn violent unprovoked in an instant, which is something that has happened a few times over the years. Illegal drugs aren't the only area of business for the Sinaloa cartel, however. There has been a takeover of legitimate industries by Sinaloa, like the fishing industry around Mexico. There's another aspect to their control of a large part of Mexico, though: social services. To reduce dependence on the government, the cartel provides a series of social services and puts out the front of a body you can trust to take care of you if you help them. From the supply of amenities to, and get this, law enforcement, the cartel aims to keep the people in line and gain support and sympathy by basically helping them in little ways. In fact, in 2019, during the brunt of the COVID-19 pandemic, the cartel supplied social packages of food, sanitizer, masks, and even money to people in certain parts of Mexico. Acts like this endear the people to them and help protect them from government clampdown. Generally, though, the operation of the cartel is mostly intimidation-driven and is to the detriment of the public good. The violence and degradation that the group has plagued the land with are inherently negative, and many people are hopeful to live a life free from their clutches. That's all for now. We hope you enjoyed the video as much as we enjoyed making it for you. We make more content just like this, so don't forget to subscribe. Also turn on notifications to get alerted to freshly uploaded videos just like this from us. We hope you have a wonderful time, and we'll see you real soon.